I rushed home from Harmony Center to tell my husband the good news of my pregnancy, but that night he disappeared. It wasn't until the 6th month of my pregnancy that I finally found him. Marcus looked at me coldly. "Who are you? Please stay away from me. The child in your belly has nothing to do with me. Don't let my fiancé misunderstand." I watched him embrace the woman in Chanel and turn to leave, my fingertips digging into my palms. 6 months pregnant. I found it difficult to even stand. Last 17th. My voice was low, but it made them stop. Room 1809 at the Regent. "Do I need to get the surveillance footage, Marcus?" His body stiffened. The woman looked at him warily. "Who is she?" "A lunatic," Marcus answered quickly, but the panic in his voice betrayed him. I took 2 steps closer, looking directly at the woman. "I am his legal wife. My marriage certificate is in my bag, and in my belly." I gently stroked my bulging abdomen. "Is the child he personally said he was looking forward to?" I stepped forward, pulled out my phone from my bag. The screen lit up, and held it directly in front of his fiancée. On it was a photo of Marcus and my marriage certificate, crystal clear. "This is our marriage certificate, dated last October." My voice was calm, yet it hit like a stone dropping into still water. Marcus's face instantly went pale, and he tried to block it. "Chloe, don't listen to her nonsense. This photo is fake." The woman named Chloe frowned deeply, her gaze moving from the phone screen to my bulging belly, then to Marcus's panicked face. The suspicion in her eyes grew stronger. "Fake?" I swiped to the next picture, which was the ultrasound report from her prenatal checkup, with the gestational week specifically circled. "Do I need to go to Harmony Center right now and ask a doctor to confront you face-to-face to estimate the conception time? Or should we go to the Regent together and ask the front desk about that night?" People nearby had already slowed down, looking over curiously. Their gazes were like needles piercing between the 3 of us. Marcus completely lost his composure. He lowered his voice, with a gritted teeth edge. "What exactly do you want?" "I don't want anything." I put my phone away, looking directly at Chloe. "I just don't want my child to have a father who tries to deny his existence, or even wants him to be a bastard. Also, miss, before you decide whether to marry him, I suggest you first clarify whether he is already divorced." Chloe's face turned extremely ugly. She suddenly yanked her hand away from Marcus. "Who is trying to hold her, Marcus? Explain yourself." "Chloe, listen to me. She's harassing me." "Harassing you?" I cut him off, feeling the baby in my belly move slightly, as if giving me strength. "Marcus, you were the one who knelt and proposed. You were the one who said you wanted a child of ours. Now, just because something happened in my family and I can no longer provide help for your career, you're treating me and the child as obstacles, eager to cast us aside to marry into wealth?" This information was significant, and faint gasps were heard around. Chloe's gaze at Marcus was no longer suspicious, but filled with shock and scrutiny. Marcus was speechless, faced with one fact after another that I threw at him, finding no room for sophistry. Cold sweat seeped from his forehead. Chloe took a step back, looking at Marcus, her eyes cold. "Marcus, what we had, it's over." With that, she turned to leave. "Chloe! Chloe!" Marcus tried to chase her, but was embarrassed by the surrounding gazes and me. Stopping awkwardly in place, he suddenly turned to look at me, his eyes full of resentment. "Are you satisfied? You ruined me." I gently stroked my belly, feeling the life stirring within, and for the first time, gave him a smile mixed with pity and resolve. "You ruined yourself. And by the way, this is my formal notice. I will be filing for divorce. You can expect to be served." I no longer looked at his distorted face, but held my waist, straightened my back, and, under the various gazes of the crowd, walked steadily, step by step, out of the mall. On the 3rd evening after the confrontation at the mall, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Marcus standing outside, his face grim. I took a deep breath, opened the door, but did not unlock the safety chain. "Let's talk." His voice was hoarse, with heavy dark circles under his eyes. "We have nothing to talk about. If you have anything to say, talk to my lawyer." I made a move to close the door. "Grace." He put his hand on the door, his tone softening. "Please, I'm begging you. I was wrong that day. I was an ass. But she just told me to handle this, to clean it up. You can't just ruin me like this." I looked at him, this man whom I once thought I'd spend my life with. Now, his urgency and regret were only for another woman. "So, clean it up, what does that mean?" I let go of the door, the safety chain still engaged. Looking at him through the gap, he seemed to see a glimmer of hope, and quickly said, "The child. If you want to have him, fine. I'll privately give you a sum for living expenses. Enough to raise the child, but we have to divorce first. And you must sign an agreement stating that the child has no relation to me, and you'll never bother me again." I almost laughed out loud. "Give me money privately, and then you can completely shake off your burden, and go marry into wealth freely? Marcus, what do you take me for? Then what do you want?" He lowered his voice, with suppressed anger. "Do you have to drag this to court and make everyone laugh? What good does that do you?" "Good?" I stroked my belly, feeling the vitality of the little life inside. "The good is that my child will have a legally recognized father, even if that father is merely nominal. The good is that the child support due to him will not be a penny less. The good is that I want you, Marcus, to openly acknowledge this child on paper, instead of secretly disposing of him like trash." His eyes were sinister. "Grace, don't push me. Chloe's family. You can't afford to offend them. If you're sensible, take the money and leave. We can part ways amicably. If you insist on making a scene." "Making a scene? What then?" I cut him off, looking directly into his eyes. "Will it let everyone know how you abandoned your wife and child? Or will it let your powerful background fiancé's family see what kind of person they've chosen? Marcus, right now, you're begging me. Act like someone who's begging." He stared at me, his chest heaving. A door gap separated us, yet it felt like an abyss. After a long moment, he seemed deflated, his voice tinged with fatigue and a final struggle. "Gracie, we did have feelings. Can't you, for the sake of the past, cut me some slack?" "The past?" I softly repeated the word, the last ripple in my heart settling into calm. "Our past died the day you disappeared. Now, I'm only planning for my child's and my own future." I looked at him, speaking slowly and clearly. "Go back and tell your fiancé that there's no private settlement option for this matter. We'll see each other in court." With a bang, I closed the door, completely shutting him and his world out. In the following days, Marcus occasionally appeared near Harmony Center. The first time, he just watched from the end of the corridor, his eyes complex. The second time, he tried to approach, but was stopped by a nurse with a family member's "stop here" sign. The third time, I came out after my checkup alone, and he walked straight over, even carrying a fruit basket. "Gracie, how was the checkup? Is the baby okay?" His tone was gentle, like a caring husband, as if the previous confrontations had never happened. I stopped, looked at him, and said nothing. My gaze made him uneasy, and he offered the fruit. "I bought you some oranges. For vitamin C." "Thanks. No need." I walked around him and continued. He followed closely, lowering his voice with a deliberate plea. "I know you hate me, but I am the child's father. After all, blood is thicker than water. That's an unchangeable fact. Do you really want the child to be born without a dad? To grow up in a single-parent family?" I stopped abruptly and turned to look at him, while having a father who abandoned him for his career, denied him, and now comes pretending be better than growing up in a single-parent family? I was confused then. I had no choice. He tried to grab my arm, but I quickly dodged. "Gracie, let's talk again, even for the child's sake. We don't have to divorce. Or we can co-parent after divorce. I promise to visit you often." "Co-parent?" I almost applauded his sudden paternal love. "And then what? Let your new wife and my child live happily together? Or give you a chance to take the child away from me later? How can you think so badly of me?" A hurt expression appeared on his face. "I just want to take responsibility. Your responsibility is to stay away from us." I cut him off, not wanting to hear these hypocritical lines anymore. "Marcus, save it. Your deep remorse act might work on your fiancé, but it doesn't work on me." The gentle mask on his face finally shattered, revealing his underlying anxious true self. "Grace, do you have to be so impossible to reason with? Do you think you can take care of the child by yourself? Without me, what will you two do? Without you, the child and I will be better off." I looked at him, stating clearly, "As for what we'll do, don't trouble yourself. If you continue to harass me like this, next time you'll be talking to the police, not me." With that, I ignored his fluctuating pale and green face, held my belly, and walked steadily towards the taxi I had hailed at the Harmony Center entrance. In the rearview mirror, he stood in place, his figure getting smaller and smaller, finally disappearing into the traffic. That afternoon, returning from grocery shopping, I was carrying heavy bags, my steps somewhat unsteady. Just as I reached my apartment building, Marcus emerged from the shadows nearby. He seemed to have been waiting a long time, his face showing a desperate frustration. "We need to talk. And it has to be clear today." He blocked my path, his tone forceful. I was tired, mentally and physically exhausted. "Move, Marcus. I have nothing to discuss with you." "No!" He grabbed my arm, with considerable force. "You have to listen to me. Chloe's family gave me a deadline. If you don't compromise, I'll be completely ruined. Can't you think about me for once? Think about him?" This sentence was like a sharp knife, piercing my last thread of patience. Anger, grievance, and months of stress instantly erupted. I tried to shake him off, but due to agitation and fatigue, a sudden, tight, downward pulling cramp shot through my abdomen. I groaned, my face instantly pale. The grocery bags thumped to the ground, scattering their contents. I instinctively clutched my bulging belly, bending over, cold sweat beading on my forehead. You're faking it." Marcus paused, then looked at me suspiciously, his hand still on my arm, but the pain was real, coming in stronger waves. My breathing became rapid, and I could barely stand. "Let go. Harmony Center." I gritted my teeth, squeezing out a few words. Just then, a neighbor in the building, Brenda, peeked out, drawn by the commotion. She looked at me and gasped, "Oh dear, isn't she pregnant? What's wrong?" She rushed over, pushing Marcus, who was still stunned, away. "What are you doing? Can't you see she's unwell?" Marcus stumbled from the push, finally panicking somewhat, and released his grip. Pain. Stomach. I grabbed Brenda's arm, as if clinging to a lifeline. Brenda immediately shouted into the hallway, "Call 911 quickly. There's a pregnant woman who's going into labor." "No, it's only 7 months, isn't it? She must be having contractions." People began to gather, their pointing gazes landing on Marcus. He stood there, his face turning from pale to green, utterly helpless, his eyes filled with panic and a hint of cowardice, a desire to escape. He even took half a step back, as if I were some terrible trouble. It was that half step back that, amidst the intense pain, completely chilled my heart to ice. A man whose first reaction, when my child and I might be in danger, was to retreat. The sound of the ambulance grew louder. Medical personnel quickly put me on a stretcher and into the vehicle. Brenda stayed with me, glaring fiercely at Marcus. "Aren't you coming? You're the baby's father." Marcus seemed to awaken from a dream, mechanically following them into the ambulance. In the Harmony Center emergency room, after an examination, the doctor's expression was serious, signs of premature labor, frequent contractions. "Has the pregnant woman been under significant emotional stress? She needs immediate hospitalization for observation, to try and prevent premature birth." I lay in the hospital bed, weak but unusually clear-headed, watching Marcus, who stood in the corner of the room, avoiding my gaze. I used all my strength to speak clearly to the doctor, and to everyone present. "Doctor, I don't want to see this person. His presence makes me emotionally unstable and will jeopardize my and my child's safety. Please make him leave." The doctor's gaze immediately turned sternly towards Marcus. Marcus opened his mouth, but under the disapproving glances of the doctor and nurses, and the scornful stare of Brenda, he couldn't say a word. Finally, like a defeated rooster, he slunk out of the room. The moment the door closed, the severe contractions seemed to slowly subside a little. I closed my eyes tiredly, gently placing my hand on my belly. "Baby, you're protecting Mom in your own way, aren't you? You also know that man doesn't deserve to be your father." On the third day of observation at Harmony Center, a knock came at the ward door. I thought it was Mr. Thomas, and said, "Come in." However, it was Chloe who entered, with Marcus trailing behind her, his face ashen, like a puppet on strings. My body tensed instantly, my hand instinctively protecting my belly. "Ms. Lynn, don't be nervous. We're not here to argue." Chloe maintained her elegant composure. She placed a fruit basket on the bedside table, her gaze calmly sweeping over my bulging abdomen. "Are you feeling better? Just say it directly. What do you want?" I wasn't in the mood for small talk. Chloe pulled up a chair and sat down. Marcus stood silently behind her. "I've looked into you, Grace. Ordinary background, good work ethic, but raising a child alone, especially in this city, will be very difficult. You want the best for your child. But the reality is, you can't provide what I can. Her tone wasn't boastful, just stating facts. So, I'm here to give you a choice. Chloe leaned forward slightly. Marcus and I will get married, but we need a child. A legitimate, clean-blooded heir to stabilize my position in the family. The one in your belly is very suitable. I almost laughed with anger. You want to buy my child? Not buy, but give him an impeccable future. Chloe took a document from her handbag. Here is a trust fund agreement. After the child is born, he will immediately have this fund, ensuring he's well provided for his entire life and receives the best education. Additionally, I will pay you an extra compensation sum sufficient for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life, and send you abroad to start a new life. You can completely break free from the past, including Marcus. The terms were astonishingly generous. Marcus suddenly looked up at Chloe, his lips moving, but he was silenced by her glance. And the prices. I finished her sentence, my heart slowly sinking. I leave forever, never acknowledge being his mother, and watch him call someone else mom. This is the best arrangement for him. Chloe emphasized. With you, he'll at most be a child of the ordinary middle class. With us, he will be the heir to a future corporation. MS. Lynn, motherly love is great, but you shouldn't sacrifice your child's future for your own emotions. The ward fell silent. I could feel Marcus's complex gaze. Shame, struggle, but more so, a silent acquiescence to that arrangement. I looked down at my belly. The baby moved gently, as if uneasy. If I accepted, all the financial pressure, all the entanglement with Marcus, would vanish. The child would have a material starting point I could never provide. But I looked up, directly at Chloe, and then at Marcus behind her. Speaking clearly, one word at a time, the terms you offer are indeed tempting. However, you've made one mistake. He's not a tool to secure a position, nor an asset needing a clean background. He is a person. He is my child. Perhaps I can't give him billions, but I can give him unconditional love and a childhood where he doesn't have to pretend or bear heavy expectations. I can teach him honesty, courage, and responsibility, instead of teaching him how to abandon responsibility and sacrifice his flesh and blood for profit. My gaze finally settled on Marcus's face, filled with utter contempt. As for the cleanliness you desire, Marcus, from the moment you abandoned your wife and child, you no longer deserved those 2 words. The family you put together is rotten from its roots. I pointed to the door. Please leave. My child will never be a pawn on your board of interests. Chloe's composure finally vanished. She looked deeply at me. Her eyes, for the first time, showed scrutiny and a hint of imperceptible fluctuation. She said nothing more, stood up, and left the ward decisively. Marcus opened his mouth, but ultimately said nothing, following her out in embarrassment. A few days later, one evening, Marcus reappeared outside my ward. This time, he had none of his previous assertiveness or pretense. He looked completely drained, his eyes sunken, his face unshaven. He didn't come directly in, but stood at the door, looking at me almost pleadingly. Gracie, can we talk one last time? Just 5 minutes, please. I looked at him, seeing his desperation, and nodded. I knew this was Chloe's final deadline. He walked in, closed the door, but didn't sit down, standing awkwardly, his hands clasped nervously. Chloe, she gave me an ultimatum. His voice was dry. If I can't properly resolve the child issue before you give birth, to ensure she has no worries, she'll replace me. He gave a bitter laugh. I'm not indispensable to her family. If I lose this opportunity, I'll truly have nothing. I watched him quietly, saying nothing. He seemed unable to bear my silence, and eagerly took a step forward, pulling a new document from his pocket. This time it's different. Gracie, look. This is my new proposal. Good for us. Good for the child. I took the document and quickly scanned it. The terms were indeed much more generous than Chloe's, or even any of his previous offers. He voluntarily gave up custody, acknowledged his biological relationship with the child, but did not insist on legal registration of paternity, and was willing to pay a one-time, exceptionally high amount of child support, far exceeding legal standards, along with a valuable education fund. The condition was that I had to sign a strict confidentiality agreement, never actively disclosing the child's relationship with him to outsiders, especially Chloe and her family, and allowing him extremely limited, non-public visitation rights in a safe and secure future. Gracie, look. He almost cried. With this money, the child can live very well with you. Truly well. I won't bother you. I just ask. Please, have pity on me, okay? He was hunched over, his eyes filled with desperate hope. This proposal was almost the last, greatest sincerity he could squeeze out between Chloe's bottom line and mine. He was pleading with everything he could offer, begging me for a chance to marry into a powerful family. I put down the document, looked up, and met his bloodshot eyes. Marcus. My voice was calm, without anger or pity. This proposal certainly seems very well considered for yourself. With a sum of money, you buy out all your responsibilities and potential risks as a father, allowing you to become a powerful family son-in-law, clean and unburdened. He eagerly nodded. It's good for the child too. I cut him off. But, have you, from beginning to end, asked if the child is healthy? Have you asked if I'm doing okay these past few days in Harmony Center? You haven't even asked if I'm willing for my child, at some uncertain point in the future, to accept non-public, like a thief's visitation from a father who abandoned him for his career? Marcus froze, his mouth open, unable to speak. You haven't. You only care about yourself, only your future. I picked up the document and gently placed it back in his hand. Your way out should not be paved by me and my unborn child sacrificing our dignity and future peace. Your good intentions, my child and I cannot bear. Now, please leave. Your problems, you solve them yourself. My child and I have no further connection with you. Marcus held the document he had placed so much hope in, his hand trembling slightly. He looked at me, his eyes shifting from pleading to despair, and finally slowly tinged with a grayish resentment. He ultimately said nothing, turned around, and stumbled out like a ghost. I knew that this time, he was truly cornered. After many twists and turns, I finally gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The mix of exhaustion and joy led me to fall into a deep sleep postpartum. I don't know how long passed, but I was awakened by a strong sense of unease. The ward was unusually quiet, and the little bassinet by the bed was empty. My heart instantly stopped. I struggled to get out of bed, but fell to the floor from weakness. A nurse rushed in, alerted by the sound. My baby! Where's my baby? My voice was hoarse, almost inaudible. The nurse also panicked. Just now, your husband took the marriage certificate and said he was taking the baby for a routine checkup. Husband? Marriage certificate? Marcus! Just then, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I trembled as I answered. Gracie. It was Marcus's voice, with an eerie calmness, and faintly, a baby's cry in the background. The child is with me. He's safe. Marcus! Give me back my child! I screamed with all my might. I can give him back, he said slowly. If you sign that agreement I gave you before, waive child support, admit the child has no relation to me, and keep it permanently confidential, sign it, take a photo, and send it to me, and I'll immediately return the child. Otherwise, he paused, and the baby's cry in the background became clearer, cutting into my heart like a knife. Otherwise, I'll disappear with him. You should understand that with the marriage certificate, as his legal father, temporarily taking the child, no one can say anything. By the time you find us, it might be too late. You don't want the child to go through this right after birth, do you? I was cold all over, as if plunged into an ice cave. He had exploited legal loopholes. My weakest moment postpartum, using our child as the ultimate bargaining chip. Tears blurred my vision. Anger and fear almost tore me apart, but I knew I couldn't break down now. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down, my voice slightly trembling from extreme suppression. Marcus, listen, this is kidnapping. It's a crime. Call it whatever you want. I'll give you half an hour to think. Remember, the agreement. Sign it. Take a photo and send it to me. His tone was forceful, but faintly revealed a hint of guilt and anxiety. The call was disconnected. I collapsed on the floor, overwhelmed by a huge sense of helplessness. No, I couldn't be threatened by him. If I compromised this time, my child and I would forever live in his shadow. I suddenly looked up, grabbing the nurse's hand. Call the police. Call 911 immediately. Someone stole my child. At the same time, I dialed Mr. Thomas's phone with a trembling hand. Mr. Thomas, Marcus has taken the child. I need help. Immediately. And all the evidence I asked you to keep safe, his infidelity, disappearance, And the last time he harassed me at Harmony Center causing my premature labor. Prepare it all. Kidnapping? Marcus's voice on the other end clearly panicked for a moment. But then he quickly feigned composure. I'm his father. I have the marriage certificate. What's wrong with me taking my child out for a walk? Taking a newborn from Harmony Center without my consent while I was unconscious. And then using him to threaten me into signing documents, that is kidnapping, I said, enunciating each word into the phone, while signaling the nurse with my eyes to call the police quickly. The nurse understood and hurried away. Don't try to scare me. Half an hour. I'm only giving you half an hour. Marcus yelled defiantly, then hastily hung up. I forced myself to calm, took a few deep breaths, suppressing my physical weakness and mental tremor. Now was not the time to break down. I immediately contacted Mr. Thomas again, explaining the situation concisely. Understood. Ms. Lynn, you're doing the right thing. Calling the police immediately is key. I'll contact my friends at the police station right away to expedite the case filing and activate technical tracking. Keep all call records and threat messages. Mr. Thomas's voice was steady and strong, offering me a lifeline. The police and Harmony Center responded quickly. Soon, 2 police officers came to my ward, thoroughly questioned me, and obtained Marcus's phone number and potential vehicle information. Harmony Center also provided surveillance footage, clearly showing Marcus hurriedly leaving the hospital building with the baby. We filed a case and requested a trace on the suspect's phone number. Please keep your phone on. Notify us immediately if you have any news. The officer reassured me. Time passed by second, each feeling like a century. I clutched my phone tightly, staring at the screen, both dreading and longing for it to ring. About 20 minutes later, Mr. Thomas's call came first. Ms. Lynn, they've located him. The phone signal shows they're at an abandoned industrial park on the west side. The police have already organized a team and are heading there. My heart leaped into my throat. An abandoned warehouse. What did he intend to do? After what felt like an endless 10 minutes, the officer in charge of the case finally called. Ms. Lynn, the child has been found. Safe. We found the suspect in an office in an abandoned warehouse. He was just about to feed the child milk mixed with sleeping pills. Sleeping pills? My vision went black, and I almost fainted. The child has already been taken by our female officer. Preliminary checks show no major issues, but he needs to be immediately returned to Harmony Center for a detailed examination. The suspect is under our control. Tears instantly gushed, a mixture of fear, anger, and immense relief. Thank you all. I choked, barely able to speak coherently. That evening, the child returned safely to me under police escort. Watching his sleeping little face, I repeatedly checked his temperature and breathing before finally feeling a sense of reality. Mr. Thomas later informed me that Marcus had been criminally detained for suspected kidnapping, threat, and attempted harm to a minor using sleeping pills. His previously prepared marriage certificate and father's identity seemed incredibly pale and laughable in the face of solid criminal facts. This time, Marcus didn't just fail. He was utterly destroyed. He personally sent himself to where he belonged. I held my recovered child, gently kissing his forehead. Baby, it's all over. From now on, it's just Mom and you. The night outside the window was still deep, but I knew dawn was coming. The news of Marcus's arrest and imprisonment, like a stone thrown into still water, created ripples, then quickly settled back into calm. I was discharged from Harmony Center with the child and returned to our redecorated home. Life finally seemed to be on track. About a month later, I received a call from an unknown number, showing a local area code. I hesitated, then answered. Ms. Lynn, it's Chloe. The voice on the other end was still calm, without much emotion. My heart tightened slightly, and I instinctively hugged the child in my arms tighter. Yes. First, I want to express my apology for the harm Marcus caused you and your child. While it may seem inadequate, his actions indeed went beyond my expectations and my bottom line. Her tone was steady, making it hard to discern sincerity. I've received your apology. If there's nothing else, please wait. She interrupted me. Secondly, I want to inform you that Marcus and I have officially terminated our engagement. There is nothing left between us. This was not surprising. I see. Finally. She paused, seemingly choosing her words carefully. I sent someone to deliver something to you. As a small compensation, or perhaps an apology, from me personally to you and your child. It should be arriving downstairs soon. Please sign for it. Rest assured, This is purely my personal act, unrelated to any conditions, and will not cause any future trouble for you and your child's life. With that, she seemed to have nothing more to say and abruptly ended the call. I was somewhat puzzled, and also cautious. Soon after, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a well-dressed man in a suit standing outside, holding only a thin brown envelope. I opened the door, maintaining a safe distance. Ms. Grace? This is something Ms. Chloe entrusted me to personally deliver to you. He handed over the envelope. I hesitated, then took it. The man nodded slightly and turned to leave. Closing the door, I carefully opened the envelope. Inside, there was no check, no threatening letter, only a thin document, a notarized deed for a compact apartment in a top-rated school district, in the child's name. The terms were clear, completely legal, and without any additional conditions. There was also a note, with a single printed line, "You protected what I failed to protect. This is a gift for that brave child, and a reminder for myself. Wishing you well, Chloe." I looked at the weighty deed of gift and the light note. My emotions complex. This gift was immensely valuable, and more importantly, it represented Chloe, the woman who once tried to dictate my child's fate with money and status, a certain degree of concession and respect. What she conceded was not me, but my unwavering resolve, something she could never understand. I didn't refuse. This wasn't a compromise. It was spoils of war, something my child and I deserved. This apartment would be a solid foundation for my child's future. I tossed the note into the shredder and carefully filed away that grant deed. Looking down at the babbling child in my arms, I smiled softly. "Sweetie," I murmured, "look, we not only won ourselves back, we also won respect." 5 years later, sunlight streamed across the carpet in the children's room. I patiently corrected Leo's grip on his crayon. His focused little face was the reason for my every effort. The doorbell rang. Through the video doorbell, I saw a face that was both familiar and strange, Marcus. He looked thinner, with a defeated weariness etched on his brow from life's hardships, and in his hand, he clutched a rather cheap toy car. I took a deep breath, soothingly stroked Leo's head, and opened the door, but the security chain remained latched. He stood awkwardly, his gaze trying to peer past me into the house. "Gracie, I'm out. I want to see the child." I didn't speak, just looked at him calmly. He gestured with the toy car in his hand. "I bought him a gift. I'm his father, after all." Just then, Leo, curious, ran to my side and peeked his little head out, his big, dark eyes fixed on the strange man at the door. He asked in a tiny voice, "Mommy, who is that?" I bent down and gently drew my son behind me, then looked up again at Marcus. There was no hatred in my eyes, no resentment, not even a flicker of emotion, only the cool detachment one reserves for a stranger and an unmistakable sense of boundaries. I looked at him and said, clearly and calmly, "Who are you? Please stay away from my son and me." Those very words, exactly what he had said to me 5 years ago in the hospital. Now, I returned them to him word for word. Marcus froze. A muscle twitched in his face, and the hand holding the toy car dropped limply. He looked at me, his eyes filled with shock, humiliation, and finally, a dawning realization. He understood that in my son's and my world, he had been completely erased, leaving not a single trace. He opened his mouth but ultimately said nothing, turning away dejectedly and disappearing step by step down the stairwell. I closed the door, shutting out everything beyond it. Leo looked up and asked innocently, "Mommy, who was that man?" I knelt down, kissed his soft cheek, and smiled. "Just someone who lost his way, sweetie. He's not important." Yes, he wasn't important anymore. My new life had already begun. I had my own thriving small design studio, supportive friends, and most importantly, the endless strength and joy Leo brought me. We lived full and peaceful lives. Marcus, along with all the storms he brought, was a distant echo. Outside the window, the sun shone brightly. I picked up my son, feeling the tangible weight of his reliance and trust. This was my victory, my new beginning. It wasn't about revenge. It was simply about finally becoming the strongest support for myself and my son. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.